peoples of the worldwide federated internet. What's good? Interesting thing about reading your Bible is watching human interaction and watching actual accounts of human history from a bird's eye view. It's actually pretty interesting, and it gives you a lot of insight, and I said this before, and it really can give you space for some introspection, some looking into yourself and seeing the areas where you definitely need to acknowledge, yeah, there's sin at the gate and I need to solve some things. I need to get some things right. And I'm actually appreciating that part of the journey of going through the book of Genesis. It's been an experience. So without further ado, let's get into this. All right, Genesis chapter 27. We left off on verse 15. And Rebekah took goodly raiment of her eldest son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them upon Jacob, her younger son. And that word goodly, again, as I always say, I use the King James Bible. It's my preference. I'm not saying you have to use it. It's just the translation that I like. That word goodly means pleasant, agreeable, desirable, and raiment is clothing in general, vestments, vesture, garments. So she took some good garments that she had with her from Esau, and so I wonder if, and I think I said this in another video, I wonder if, and I'm going to assume this is probably the case, that Esau learned how to cook from his mother. I'm just going to assume that. I'm not saying that that's necessarily true, but Rebekah was able to, well, I'll get to that part. I don't want to jump ahead, but you'll see kind of why I think that. And she put the skins of the kids of the goats upon his hands, talking about Jacob, and upon the smooth of his neck. And as far as I understand, the smooth of the neck is for those of us guys who've grown beards. I believe it's that part right under your chin where the beard starts growing under your chin and down to your Adam's apple. I think that's the area. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's where that is. Verse 17, and she gave the savory meat and the bread which she had prepared unto the hand of her son Jacob. So I try not to listen to too many commentaries while I'm going through my study. Not that I'm against that. I like commentaries, but I want to see what I can glean as I read the Bible. But normally after I go through a section, I might look up and see what, like Matthew Henry's commentary or someone else, and see what they said. There's a man I was watching. I cannot remember his name. It was a YouTube video earlier where he was kind of going through this very portion of Genesis, and he said something. Now, I think this is a possibility, but the Bible doesn't explicitly say this, so I can't say this dogmatically. What he says is there's much deception going on here, a lot of deception. One, he said it's a great possibility that Rebekah told Isaac what the Lord told her when she was pregnant about the older serving the younger. And it is also very possible that he sought to behind her back give this blessing to Esau, knowing that the blessing was actually supposed to and should have gone to Jacob. Now, these are just assumptions. The Bible doesn't teach this, so this is not something I would debate or argue. But these are possibilities, right? But here's the thing he brought up, and I definitely agree with this 100%. He said, God gave a promise to Rebekah. And what she did is because she didn't see how this was going to play out, she thought it was up to her to make this promise happen. No, if God makes a promise, all you have to do is rely on and trust God. This is out of your control and out of your hands. You have no power and God has all power. I thought that was a good thought, so I thought I'd share that. In verse 18, and he came unto his father and said, my father. And he said, here am I. That call and response again. Who art thou, my son? So what we see here is Isaac has some questions. Who is this? Right? Clearly, Isaac or Jacob and Esau would have two different voices, probably distinct voices, I'm sure. In verse 19, and Jacob said unto his father, I am Esau, thy firstborn. I have done according as thou badest me. Arise, I pray thee, sit and eat my venison, that thy soul may bless me. So already we see that Isaac has some questions, and we see that Jacob has no problems at all lying to his father. In verse 20, and Isaac said unto his son, how is it that thou hast found it so quickly, my son? He said, because the Lord thy God brought it to me. So again, Isaac is skeptical. He's like, something isn't right. How did you get this so quick? How did you hunt this down so quick? And Jacob invokes God and tries to involve God in his lie. This is pretty egregious. Not only is he lying, he is using the name of the Most High God in heaven and earth and involving him in his lie. This is egregious. This is a pretty big deal. In verse 21, and Isaac said unto Jacob, come near, I pray thee, that I may fill thee, my son, whether thou be my very son Esau or not. So Isaac, getting old, has bad vision, but he can hear. His ears work pretty good. So he's listening and he's like, I don't think you're my son Esau. I'm going to need you to come a little closer to me so I can verify this. So Isaac has some legitimate questions. He's questioning what's going on. Verse 22, and Jacob went near unto Isaac his father, and he felt him and said, the voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. So he knows, this voice ain't right, but his hands, they feel right. So part of me wonders if Isaac knows what's going on, right? Understands he's being deceived, but he favors Esau. Isaac favors Esau. Rebekah favors Jacob. And I wonder if deep down inside, and this is why I say I can kind of believe what the one commentator said, that it's a possibility that Rebekah, and it's more than likely Rebekah, told him what God told her, and he wants this blessing to go to his firstborn, knowing that it's actually supposed to go to the secondborn, which is Jacob. That's a possibility, and maybe even though he's not really deceived, but he's questioning, maybe deep down inside he's just going with it because he's like, this is the way this is supposed to work out. I don't know. I'm not gonna jump on that hill dogmatically, but all of these things They're all possibilities. We aren't necessarily given all these intricate details, but we can sometimes infer some of these things as we're reading through and seeing different things play out. Okay, so verse 22, and Jacob went near unto Isaac his father, and he felt him. And he said, the voice is Jacob's, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy as his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him and said, art thou my very son Esau? And he said, I am. So again, here's Jacob lying. And again, Isaac is like, something is not right. Are you sure you're my son Esau? I think I'm of the opinion, and I think at this point, Isaac knows this. Here's what's interesting, and I'm not sure if I read the meaning of Jacob's name, and this is going to come up later in this chapter. We won't get to it today, but as I said, you're going to see why the Bible is going to give a clear example of why names definitely mean something in the Bible. Like people aren't just given names haphazardly, and God didn't just haphazardly use certain people to do certain things, but Jacob's name means supplanter. Supplanter, or someone who supplants, is to remove or displace by stratagem, or to displace and take the place of, to overthrow, to undermine. So Jacob's name, as we can see going through all of this, is apropos. It's very fitting for who he is, his temperament, and especially what he's doing right now. So let's read verse 25 through 29. And he said, bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's venison, that my soul may bless thee. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat, and he brought him wine to drink. And his father Isaac said unto him, come near thou and kiss me, my son. I think he's having him come near, because I think Isaac is still having these questions like, man, his voice, this is Jacob's voice, and he's got the food and it tastes right, and he feels and smells like the right part, but I don't know. And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his raiment, and blessed him, and said, see, the smell of my son is as the smell of the field which the Lord hath blessed. Therefore God give thee of the dew of heaven, and the fatness of the earth, and the plenty of corn and wine. Let people serve thee, and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be everyone that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. This is, to me, this is interesting, because we see so many dynamics playing out here. And like I said, I don't know for a fact that Rebekah informed Isaac of this meeting she had with God and what God said to her, the foreknowledge that God gave her about what was to come. But I'm inclined to believe it happened. We don't have that said explicitly. So was Isaac being conniving and kind of going behind what he knew God was going to do, and kind of being sneaky about going to give the blessing to Esau, even though it was supposed to go to Jacob? We definitely know Rebekah was being conniving, right? She was being deceitful. We definitely know Jacob was lying, lied several times. The whole thing was deception. And again, the interesting thing is, God promised this to Rebekah. He said this is how these things were going to work out. and this, we see that mental conundrum, right? There's Bible truths. There's things that are laid down in the Bible. Let's say general Bible truths, right? Just things that are generally true and apply to all. And sometimes I think we get wrapped up in our head and we think that we have to do something to make this biblical fact true. No, I have no power. God has all power. If God says something is so, it is so, whether I can understand or see it or not. That's a good place to be. And I don't know specifically that that's something that we are supposed to get from these passages of scripture. I'm inclined to believe it is, because we see all these things playing out. We see the deception. We see the family dynamics. We see the drama. We see Isaac with his favorite, which is Esau, and Rebekah with her favorite, which is Jacob. And this is something that was brought up in the video I watched earlier as well. All parents, even though some of us are afraid to admit it, sometimes have kids that we favor more than other kids. Maybe we connect more for whatever reason. Not always done on purpose. It just happens. But the thing is, how you allow that to affect the relationship with your kids is where you could go wrong. And this is one of those areas that I think both Rebekah and Isaac went wrong. There's nothing wrong with having a deeper connection with one of your kids if you have multiple kids, but you can't treat them differently because of that. And we kind of see that dynamic playing out right here. But again, God gave a promise to Rebekah. There was nothing she had to do. All she had to do was rely and trust on God to do exactly what he said he was going to do. But she didn't. And she took matters into her own hands. And there was some lying and deception involved. Definitely not approved by God. But nonetheless, God's will is done in spite of us. Y'all know what it is. Stay frosty, people.